All right. Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining. We are in the June WiscWeb Lunch and Learn. If you've been here for a little bit, you'll see a lot of great pasta talk in the chat. Our question is, what's your favorite pasta or your least favorite pasta and why? There's also some good ideas in there for maybe a bit different recipes as well. So check that out. I'm Jenna Clinner. I'm the service coordinator for the WiscWeb team. I'm joined here by Matt Goins, who's also on the WiscWeb team. And we also have Ketter Joyner here today from the Stratcom team. Hi, Ketter. And we'll get started here. Here's the agenda. It looks really big, but I swear it's not as daunting as it looks. We're going to do our regular service updates and reminders. We'll get into some UW theme and migration stuff. I'm going to give you a little publication recap. There was a publication survey sent to campus, and we've got a recap on the data from that. We have a few little WordPress 7 updates. WordPress core has pushed out 7.0. We haven't upgraded our environments yet, but it's coming. And then we've got several demos today by both Ketter and Matt. For WiscWeb specific service updates and reminders, we did make some changes recently to try to help improve spam on forms. So this is something we're keeping an eye on. We've had two cases where folks have been kind of spammed by thousands of form submissions. I haven't heard much more from this, but like I said, we're keeping an eye on it. There are tweaks that we're making on our end to try to improve this for folks. Just wanted to make you aware of that one. We also have made some updates to improve the file upload experience. Some file uploads might have been erroring, and that was due to our firewall settings, so we've made some tweaks there. And then the last is a reminder for you. Let us know if you have any sites that we can archive. If you have sites sitting out there where you're like, this program has ended, maybe it was a conference site that was just a one-time thing. Maybe you just don't have the resources to support it anymore. We are actively migrating from UW Theme Classic to UW Theme 2.0, and in that effort, we're really trying to close out anything that isn't in use anymore so that we can keep our focus on real active sites. You might hear from us if we think that a site might be, kind of abandoned or no longer in use. So if we email you, that's why. We're just really taking a lot of time to audit that site list right now so that we know what's in scope.
He's another little update slash reminder. He's not here, so I want to sing his praises.
Yeah,
Scott Berg and the effort that
yeah.
he has put in on the back end to make sure that our
Ooh,
our service is stable and stays up is it can't be overstated enough how much effort he has put in because we just went through um, the past week of heavy exceptionally heavy traffic on our new servers, and we didn't see a blip. And that
yeah.
that all goes into the effort that Scott has put in, along with Andy Summers and Angie Roning on the back end of making sure our stuff stays up. And I told him he didn't have to show up because he's doing a lot of PHP work right now. So I want to embarrass him a little bit while he's
Yeah,
not
maybe
here.
he'll watch it back.
Just absolutely sing his praises. He has done so much work to make our service as efficient and stable as it is. So I just wanted to throw that in
100%.
there.
And if you're not familiar with Scott, we did some intros to our team at the last session back in May. So the whole team kind of got on cam and you can see him. He does do our DevOps engineering stuff. So he's involved in a lot of the AWS hosting. So you can thank him for the zippy, fast environment in UW Theme 2.0, which is a lot faster and we love it. So yeah, Scott Berg and our developers, Andrea Roning and Andy Summers. We love you. Um, UW theme. There's a couple of updates here, updates and reminders. As a reminder, you can launch and convert posts later. This is a question that came up. We just want to make sure it's, kind of articulated to folks because we really don't require you to convert your posts. Posts never used page elements in UW Theme Classic, so they do come over. There are some tweaks that you can make to make things look a little bit better. We do recommend doing that on any posts that are maybe like more recent or maybe they're really high visibility in some way. But generally, folks don't need to convert posts. But something that you could do is launch and then convert them after launch too. Um, We recommend that you do convert all pages, but with posts, it is something that can happen after. So just clearing that up in case anyone else was wondering about that. I also wanted to remind folks about embedding text in images. This is an accessibility barrier. We do not recommend having text in your images. So please do kind of be considerate of that as you're building out your UW Theme 2.0 sites. All right, publication survey. So this was sent several weeks ago to communicators and editors on campus. It was a survey to understand kind of how folks are using publications at the university. So this wasn't just WiscWeb specific, it was broader to just all folks who are, doing publications work on their sites. But what we found was that this is a very diverse campus. So there are diverse publication related needs as we could expect. And as such, those needs require different approaches to how we're going to handle publications. A common issue we saw too with the feedback was that there's some name confusion. So there's a lot of people with the same exact first last name, and so it can be challenging to incorporate a specific individual's publication on their site because, with publications like PubMed, it could be pulling in other people's publications of the same name. So there's some incorrect attribution with automated systems. And then we did want to let you know that both WiscWeb and the Stratcom digital strategy teams will be collaborating on next steps and road mapping work in future sprints to try to bring you some more abilities there, but it is something that we need to dig into a bit more. And I'll pause there just in case, not to put you on the spot, Danielle, but if there's anything specific you wanted to add to that, please feel free.
Um, I think you covered it really well. Thank you. Yeah, this
Yeah,
is something that we're pretty interested in. So, we want to get some sort of some sort of solution, but need to figure out just how and when to do that.
perfect. Thank you. With WordPress 7.0. So as I said, this is already out, but we have not upgraded our environments just yet. But there are some changes that you could expect to both UW Theme Classic and UW Theme 2.0 that will be coming soon. Some of these are just for one of the themes. A good example is the blue color in the dashboard. So as you log in, there's kind of a default blue that you'll see. They have decided to change this at the WordPress level. It's a lot brighter, and some people really don't like it. So there is an opportunity to change that. We can show you that later in this presentation, but just noting if you log in one day and the color looks different, there's nothing wrong. It's just what WordPress updated, and it's likely that we've upgraded our environment to 7.0. The next one here is really specific to UW Theme 2.0 because it involves the image block, which doesn't exist in the old theme. But the image block, once we have 7.0 on our sites, it does have a focal picker now, which is exciting, but it only shows up if you choose an aspect ratio for your image first. So just noting that it will exist. However, you're not going to see it right away unless you choose that aspect ratio. And then the third one, gallery block lightbox update, also for theme 2.0. When you use the enlarge on click option, when that's enabled for the gallery block, visitors can cycle through all images in the gallery in a larger lightbox view. And I believe, Ketter, is that part of your demonstration today? Yes, so we'll show that as well. Looking in the chat, let's see. I see a question about what is the focal point picker. This is a little option that you do have available with some image tooling in the new theme where you can kind of move where the focus is on the image. And we can maybe show that later, but just noting that it is an option with some blocks like the cover block right now where you can kind of change where what you're highlighting in page, sort of like where the focus is on the image. Yeah, and Matt noted it's in the cover block. All right. So then next, I'm going to hand things off to Ketter from the digital strategy team at, or sorry, I'm going to get this
Strategic
wrong, Ketter.
communications.
Strategic Communications Digital Strategy Team. Yeah,
Digital
I was
strategy team. Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah, no
Uh,
worries. Thank you. I just put in chat to a link to the focal point picker example in the cover block on WordPress.org documentation if anyone needs like a visual of what that looks like. It's pretty
Thank
cool that the
you.
image block got that. So you'll notice it when 7.0 is available to use. But it's a nice feature. Yeah, hey, I'm gonna share my screen if that's okay. Let's see. I think I might need presenter, allow multiple presenters to share.
no, just
Only.
yeah, I made you a co-host, so you should be able to
Cool.
just present.
Thank you so much. Here we are. I'll share it. And yeah, like Jenna mentioned, my name is Ketter Joyner, and I'm a user experience architect with the Office of Strategic Communication. I work very closely with the WiscWeb team, partnering together on the UW theme. And this is something I'm really excited about that's coming with WordPress 7.0, which is this update to the gallery block. I'll show you how this works, but if you haven't used the gallery block, it's a way to display a group of images about a particular topic. If you have an event, for example, it's a good block to use for that kind of a thing. Or if you're also looking to show a process of images, like from a workshop or something like that, it can be a useful block to display that too. Previously, if you opened up an image in the gallery block, you couldn't cycle through all the images that were in that block. And in 7.0, you can. So that's pretty cool. And let's show you how you do that. So I'm going to switch to this tab here. And I'm in the block editor right now, and I've got the gallery block on the page. If you're new to Gutenberg or the block editor, I'm going to click enter here. You can add a new block by typing / on your keyboard and then typing the name of the block. And I could add it by just doing that. The other way to add a block, just as a reminder, is up here in the top toolbar of the block editing screen. You can click that big blue plus icon called the block inserter, search for your block in the search field there too, and click on it. So yeah, that's the way to add a block. And the gallery block itself, I'll open up list view, which is also up in the top toolbar. Let's open that up. It's the 3 vertical lines there. You'll be able to see an outline of all the blocks on your page. When you click on them, it'll jump you right to them in the editor. So here you see I've got the gallery block selected, and then you can see all the images inside of that. To enable this lightbox view for the whole gallery block, you click on the outermost gallery block, which is this one right here. It just says gallery. Of course, you can rename sections of content in your list view. Like if this was like student art gallery, you can do that to stay more organized. But just remember that this icon next to the name is what that block is. So the gallery block always looks like that icon with 2 stacked images. So I've got that outermost parent block selected, and this block toolbar opens up when I've got it selected. So you see that block toolbar, this contains more options for blocks. You want to click on this link icon here and make sure that enlarge on click is enabled. That's what gives you that lightbox view that opens up. So I've got it enabled already. The other thing to note here is up in the top toolbar with the gallery block selected, I'm going to click on the settings icon up here, which is next to the save or publish button. So I'm going to click on that, and this opens up all my settings for the gallery block. If I scroll down, I see that I've got this navigation button type option where I can choose icon, text, or both. These are the controls for that lightbox view where it's like the close button and then next and previous that allow you to cycle through those images. By default, WordPress core has made icon the default, but if you use this, we recommend setting it to be both. This means that you'll get the icon and the label, text label next to it. So it would be the label previous with the arrow that's going backwards. It's a more accessible option to be able to see an icon with the text label for more users. So that's why we recommend setting that to the both setting. So I've got this set up now, and I'm going to click save, and then let's open to view the page. So now when I click on this image, I can click next, and I can start cycling through all of the images within that gallery, and I can close it too. So it's a super nice feature. Tap into it when it's available. Something else that people don't often realize with the gallery block is you can actually add a caption to the whole gallery versus just individual images. So let's say you do have something that's more general like this, where you're just wanting to show a list of images from an event or a workshop or something like that. You can, as long as you've got the outermost gallery block selected in list view, in the block toolbar, you can turn on and off this caption option. I'm going to select this text to show you what I mean. So I will remove this, and you can see it's gone. And if I toggle it back on, then I can add a caption again. So that's a nice one to tap into if you have like a lot of text for each image, or you just want a way to be able to summarize the whole gallery. It's a good option. Yeah, gallery lightbox, super neat. Very glad WordPress core added it. And if you ever hear us say WordPress core, what we're referring to is like the WordPress, whatever that means. It's like the community and the group of people who develop WordPress. Our theme is built on WordPress. So one of the things that we're trying to do is lean a little bit more on WordPress core features so that we don't have to develop as much custom stuff. So just in case you hear us say WordPress core, it's kind of a weird term, but that's what we're referring to is the community and the folks who build WordPress. I'm not keeping track of chat. Were there any questions related to that? So sorry. How's it going?
There was one question about accessibility, and so I just clarified like what type of accessibility, because the image gallery block itself will still show if an image doesn't have alt text on it. You'll still get that red message in the upper left and right, and then you kind of covered the accessibility of the gallery selector or slider itself. So
There are new questions that came in. Can you add captions to each photo in the gallery?
Yes, you can. So you can add it, obviously, like I showed you, to the whole gallery itself, but also for each image. Inside of this gallery is just a standard old image block. So it works the same as you would for an image outside of the gallery. So I've got this image selected here in list view. I can click on this add caption in the block toolbar that shows on hover when I've got an image block selected, and then I can go ahead and add my caption to that. So, hey, Bree, you're great. So I could do that for each one. If you do have a caption saved with your image in the media library, that will come along for the ride, or you can add your own, like I did right here. So just something to think about.
however,
Yeah.
it does not appear when you are in the lightbox view.
Yeah, it might be that I turned those off. Oh, in the lightbox view. Sorry.
Yes.
I see what you're saying.
So like open up this page, save this page, and then open it up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
so
this has
it won't
a
show up
caption.
here.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is something we hope WordPress core will add eventually, is the ability for the captions to display in this lightbox view, but currently it does not. There might be an open feature request for that with WordPress core, but I cannot remember. Double check that.
And then I just want to test something real quick, Brendan, before I answer your question, because I think the answer is yes, but it's not as easy yet as 7.0 is going to make it. So let me just test something really quick.
While you test that, I will just call out, there was a question about if you can add captions if you could add the image gallery to posts as well as pages. And yes, we did answer that in the chat, but I did want to kind of just audibly say it for folks who are watching back the recording. You can add them to posts as well.
So the carousel effect does not exist. The lightbox effect does for single images on click. So 7.0 is bringing that carousel effect. Yeah. Thank you, Andrea, for clarifying, but I was testing that just to make sure I knew what the right answer was. But yeah, that's so the galleries do work, the lightbox does work, but it's picture by picture right now. carousel is coming when we launch 7.0.
Yeah. Yeah, great question. And Bree, totally understand. I think captions visible on the image in the gallery view would be really nice. And if you're able to submit a feature request for that for the theme too, that would be super helpful if there's not already one listed in the feature request. But that is something that I think we're also looking to see if Core will add to, but it's useful to know how many people are looking for it, because if they don't add it, maybe that's something we can consider at some point in the future. Sometimes there's a way to select an image to be featured image for a gallery. Is that right? Ooh, Claire, could you clarify a little bit what you mean there?
I'm wondering if like how you have it right now, where like the two on the bottom um are bigger than the three on the top. Could you swap that to make one of those be like the first image? Like you can reorder them, certainly, but like could you specify that like here's my gallery. I want
Ah,
one image at the top that is the biggest image introducing the gallery, and then everything else underneath it is however it gets laid out in the grid.
Um, Not natively with the gallery block. You could, we do have a pattern that allows you to do, like, you can kind of piece that together how you want it to look. So I've got the patterns open in the left-hand sidebar. If I click on galleries here, you can see that there are some patterns here that have like a large image featured at the top, but then a gallery of images below. We're actually using an image block there and then a gallery block below it. So you kind of need to get a little bit creative if you want control over like which one specifically is always going to be the largest. The gallery block does a lot of dynamic resizing. So in this view, with all the images are here, it depends on, like, it's using Flexbox, I think, under the hood to make this work.
Yeah.
But if I deleted one, you can see how things shift. So yeah, as you're working with this, look at the patterns that we have to kind of see how we set that stuff up, because you might be able to get a little creative with it.
Yeah, and just a caveat to that is the fact that like with the patterns and using the image block as like the top one, that image block doesn't get the lightbox effect. It is just an image that appears, but the lightbox effect can be applied to the rest of the gallery images. So you just have like Ketter said, you just kind of have to play around with it, find something that works for you, and just lean into it.
Yeah.
looks
Yeah.
like Andrea also posted the WordPress core issue about the
Ooh.
caption missing when opening the image.
Awesome. Thanks, Andrea. Yeah, this is a good reminder for me to go and upload that if I haven't yet. And if others are able to do that too, or comment and show some support on it, that would be very helpful for us as well.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, I'm going to move to the next topic, but we're going to talk a little bit about adding a social preview image. In UW Theme 2.0, it actually works the same as UW Theme Classic. It's just a different presentation of it because it's a new theme and new framework. But some of you might not also know what this is, so we wanted to give you a reminder of that as well. But when you share a page or a post on a social media platform, you're probably used to seeing sometimes a preview of an image being shown. So like here, if I was to share the UW theme site on LinkedIn, this is what that preview would look like. You can set that up for your pages and posts in UW Theme 2.0 also. And it only impacts that social preview when you're sharing on social media. And I'll talk a little bit more about that too. But the way that you don't add this, because this can trip people up, myself included, when I was first working with the theme, is that you don't set this by setting a featured image for a page or post. So you can just kind of ignore that setting when you're looking to do this for sharing on social media. The only time you're really going to be setting a featured image likely is in a post page. And then once you set a featured image for a post and you want to create a post listing on another page, you use the query loop in WordPress to be able to display that featured image along with your posts. We have some patterns in the UW theme that do this already. I'm under post listing here, and you'll be able to see some of those where you can see that featured image being pulled in with the featured image block. But for social previews, that's not the setting that you use for this, and I'll show you where you go for that. I'll show you a short demo after this because this can be kind of hard to absorb with just screenshots. But when you're on a page or a post, within the page tab under the settings sidebar, you scroll down and you see this SEO and social media section. You can learn more about what meta tags are. That's under the hood, what we're using to get these social previews to work. We won't go into what meta tags are, but you can learn more about them if you're in this page. And there's an option to read a little bit more. But you click Edit Meta Tags, it will open up a popover where then you can then add more information. So you can change the title of that page and what you want it to display when you're sharing on social media. You can add a different description, then you can add an image too. And let me show you what that looks like. So here I am again in the block editor on a page. And up in the top toolbar, I'm going to click on that settings icon again next to the save and publish button. And then I'm going to switch between the block tab to the page tab. So this is all the information about your page, like setting an excerpt, publish, slug, all that kind of stuff. This is like your utility area. And then I'll scroll down and I can see this SEO and social media section. So I'm going to click Edit Media. I've already got a cute little chihuahua picture, so I'm just going to keep it as that, but I could add a title or a description. There is an option to customize your X or Twitter card type, and I won't talk about that today, but there's an option to learn more about that in here if that's of interest to you. But here's how I've got that set up for this page. And there's a couple things to note about when you do this. A few best practices is that you want to use an image that's cropped to be 1200 by 630 pixels to prevent any cropping issues. That's just sort of the best what these platforms recommend to display the best in those social media applications. And then for the best results, use JPEG or PNG file types for your image. In a few sessions a couple months ago, we talked about image best practices. JPEG's probably going to be just fine. But if you've got a lot of detail or it's a graphic or something, a PNG file might be a little bit better. And then always make sure for these particular settings, like the Twitter and X, LinkedIn, and Facebook, they all have a requirement that they must be under 5 megabytes, the size of the image that you use for this. So just keep that in mind if you tap into this option. And then you can preview and debug this. So here, I'll share a couple links in chat with you that I'm sharing on the screen here. And of course, how do I get back to chat? It's right here. I can do it. I can do this. It's right here. There's something called Open Graph XYZ to preview what this looks like. And then you can use the LinkedIn Post Inspector tool to refresh and debug your previews. And then you can visit the UW Theme 2.0 guide that has all of this information I shared with you today about this. And I've got Open Graph set up here where you can see I added a link to that post that I'm just sharing with you here. Let's do a rescan. And you can see the little chihuahua again and a little preview of what that might look like on Facebook, what it looks like on X, what will it look like on LinkedIn, Discord, things like that. And then it also tells you if your image aspect ratio is wrong. So I uploaded the wrong size. It wants me to upload 1200 by 630, and it'll give you some other ideas for how to improve this if you want to. Yeah, so that is social previews. And remember to squish your images. Yeah, thank you, Matt. That's a really good reminder. The next topic that I'll talk about is accordion and tab titles. So this is a question we've been getting in design office hours, and it's a really good one. It also shows that people are thinking about their heading levels. So kudos to all of you for this question too. These two questions. Some users have been wondering why they can't see accordion or tab titles in the outline view in WordPress, and I'll show you what I mean by outline view in just a second. And then they're also wondering why they can change the heading level of accordions, but not tabs. So I'm going to take these questions one by one here and just kind of let you know what I mean. And maybe some people haven't asked this yet, but you've wondered like, oh yeah, why can't I do that? It is sort of nuanced, so it's helpful to know what's going on there. Here's the outline view in WordPress, an example of it. So some of you are using this, which is great to check that your heading levels are in the proper order on a page. So like H1, H2, H3, H4, and just to show you quickly how you get to that, because it's kind of hidden if you haven't seen it before. I'm back in the block editor again. And then if I, up in the top toolbar, if I click on the document overview, the 3 vertical lines, I can click on outline tab. And this is where I can see all my heading levels on the page. So that's what I'm referring to when I say outline view. And so why don't these two things show up there? And I'm talking about why doesn't this heading title show up there? How do I apply? And why doesn't this one, overview and requirements, show up? The first one is really that the UW accordions block is something custom that our team created, the UW theme team. And so WordPress doesn't have access to show that in the outline view. So the thing to just know about that is to just make sure you're choosing the correct heading level for your accordions. So I get this drop down here where I can choose H4, H3, H2. And because this above here is an H3, these all should be an H4 below it to follow that proper heading level order. And then the second one is that tabs actually aren't headings, which was also surprising to me. And I'll talk a little bit more about why they're not, because it's actually kind of cool. Yeah, tab titles are not headings. So the reason why you can't change their heading level is because you actually shouldn't. You just don't need to worry about it. Tabs are actually considered more of controls. So they act like buttons that allow you to switch between related panels of content. So let me open up this page really quick so you can see what I mean. Like these are actually under the hood working more like a button. So they are serving 2 different purposes than what an accordion heading is doing. And they're just categorized differently. So even though a tab label looks like a heading, like I mentioned before, it's actually has a different functional purpose and is considered something different under the hood. So think of it as more actually being like a button. And accordion titles just work more like section headings because they're often written in like a sentence form or a question, and they're introducing the content that opens below it. It's just more like heading content generally, so it's categorized in that way. You can have headings inside of tabs and accordions. So let's focus on tabs specifically. You can have headings inside with, and you can add the heading block inside your inner tab content area here, but they still must follow the correct heading level order on the page. So right here, this says tab example. This is an H3. So remember, these aren't actually headings, so don't think about those. When you're in this inner content, this heading should be an H4 because this one above it is an H3. So just keep that in mind as you're working with tabs. Same thing goes for accordions. Since this is an H4, if I added a heading down here, it would be an H5 and lower. And just catching up on chat here. I think we're good.
Yeah,
Jenna
that's
Okay, cool. Jenna touched on this a little bit, but we are still seeing a lot of images that embed text. So this is just another reminder too, is if your image is not a logo, please, please, please don't embed text in your images. So that's referring to images of text. Screen readers and other tools just do not reliably detect text inside of images. So another thing that people sometimes forget is that that text that's embedded in an image might also be really hard to read on smaller screen sizes. So just a reminder for how to check your designs on mobile is up in the top toolbar. You click on the laptop icon, which says view, and then you can switch between mobile, tablet, back to desktop. So this is just another reminder to check your content on mobile before you publish. But text embedded in images could look really small on screen sizes because it doesn't tap into all of that responsive sizing that we had built into the theme. So you always want to use real page text whenever you can so that visitors can read, resize, translate, and especially search and copy your content. When text is inside of an image, people can't search for it. They can't use Control F and find it. So that's a big one too. And this is just to show you an example. Like, let's say you maybe had a flyer or something that had some really important content on it, like when you should apply for something, how many credits you might earn, things like that. This would be an example where you wouldn't want to just use this on your page to share content with users. This should be actual text on the page that will be read by a screen reader. It's something that's searchable. So this is an example of how this flyer image might be translated with text blocks using the media and text block. This is a heading block. This is a list block. This is a button block. And you still get the same feeling of this flyer. If you, for example, wanted to keep this flyer on the page, you just want to make sure all of that text is also on the page somewhere else accessible to screen readers. I understand that sometimes people have like a graphic or something that's like promotional, but any text that's important for users to know should always be on the page rather than baked into the image. So when possible, just get into the habit of using text blocks for content. And there's a lot of great patterns in the theme, and you can even create your own patterns where you can get to some really cool designs that can still be useful for promoting your events and your content. And then,
I
oh,
Hey,
sorry,
Carrie,
go
I
ahead.
just want to jump in there just
Yeah.
to finish up the thought on this. One of the questions that I have gotten through office hours several times is, well, I have this image that somebody really wanted to make. Can I just put all of this information into the alt text? And the answer is, sure you can, but that's not going to benefit you because there may be a certain point where a screen reader will stop reading the alt text. It might reach a particular maximum word count or character count when it's reading the alt text, and it might cut it off.
Yeah.
And now you've just created
That's
a
a good point.
new usability issue to add in with the text on the image issue there. So I certainly appreciate that people love their design work, love their artwork, but again, you have to make this content usable by everyone, not just yourself, not just you wanting to put a nice image out there for everybody to see. So I just want to make sure that people understand that using alt text is not a way around this.
Yeah, and using alt text, you still can't search for that. So if it's hidden in alt text, you people who are
Yes,
searching for that
absolutely.
content
Yeah,
still can't find
absolutely.
it.
Yep.
Yeah, thanks. That's a good reminder. And then just the second reminder is to please not use animated GIFs or GIFs, whatever, however you refer to it, on your pages as well. Especially if they are images that loop continuously, so they never stop. This does not meet the digital accessibility policy at UW-Madison, which requires we also meet federal rules and regulations. You'll see a statement here from WCAG requirements that, anything that is moving, blinking, or scrolling must have a way to be able to stop, pause, or play it, or it must only last for 5 seconds. So animations can cause really severe issues for those with varying cognitive and neurological and visual disabilities, and just for other users as well. A lot of things that are moving on the page that don't stop can just make it problematic for people to maintain focus. So just keep that in mind when it comes to movement. And here's just, some remediations. If you do have this on your page, consider using a video instead that can be paused, stopped, or played. There is this free tool called Easy GIF that allows you to update your GIFs so that they stop after 5 seconds. And they do not continuously loop. So that continuously loop is really what's problematic. But the biggest one is I would really encourage people just to consider using a still graphic instead that really captures the same meaning and energy. So a good example, I think, is BMO from Adventure Time, where here's a really quick video of him dancing. Let's play it again. And it's so cute, and I love it. But this still image of BMO dancing is also still giving the same energy and is still so cute. So you can get the same effect with a still graphic. And so I highly recommend using still graphics instead. And yeah, I will pass it to Matt. Thanks for
Yeah.
Uh,
listening.
sorry, Kendra,
Just
there was a question earlier.
yeah,
So
yeah.
sorry
There's
to
a
go. Oh, uh,
You want me to
it
keep
was
sharing?
back. Yeah, it was back with the accordion and tab content actually. Is best practice to add a heading within each tab, or is the button sufficient?
That's a good question. It really depends on your content, honestly. What I recommend is always introducing your tabs at least with a heading so that people understand what topic they're associated with. So if your content inside is about a few different related topics, then you'd want to section that inner content out with headings. Does that make sense? Um, so in this example, this is kind of introducing what this tabbed content here is doing. And then in here, I would maybe have some lower level headings to organize the content inside, but it really is very content dependent.
And then Vanessa had a question. Is there a resource for using headers in order properly? Inclined to just go in order of priority, like use an H2 elsewhere, but if you use an H3 already, I guess the answer to that as I'm reading it is, for me, I always go in, like, you shouldn't have had an H3 if you didn't have an H2. So I kind of go in that order of, like, if I want to section something out on my page, I'm going to have an H2 be the headline. And then in that section, and I've created a training video on talking about creating sections of content. But like, if I'm going to create a section of content, I'm going to use an H2 as the introduction to that section of content. Then everything in there is going to go H3. And then if I'm continuing to accordion on down, I'm going to go H3. And then if I have another subsection, H4, back out to H3, back into H4, back out to H3. And then eventually that section of content is done. And my next section of content is starting with an H2 again. And then subsequently H3, H4, H3, H4, and so on down the line. So it is it is somewhat like what you were saying, Vanessa, which is like thinking of it as a chapter in a book. The section is the chapter title, and then everything else is sub-chapters, subsections, things of that nature. So yeah. Okay. Moving right along. Footloose and Maddie free. Let's see here. I need to move some stuff around so that I can present. Share your screen, Matthew. There you go. Okay. So I am going to open the chat back up. There we go. Okay. So I am going to touch on just a couple of things here to work through, and I honestly don't remember number 3, so you'll excuse me while I open that back up. Where's the agenda? There we go. Oh, that's it. Okay. All right, so really quickly, I wanted to talk about the coloring scheme for UW Theme 2.0 when we do move to WordPress 7. So I brought up, here is the current version of UW Theme 2.0 and the current version of WordPress. And then if I just click on over here, here's our dev environment where we do have 7.0 uploaded and testing. But you can kind of see it's just the blues are brighter. There's different kinds of spacing going on, along with some different styling to these sections here. So just kind of be aware of that when we move to it and when you are accessing your dashboard. So one of the things that you could do is you could change your profile. So if I hover over my howdy, hello there, and then click on edit profile, you have some administration color schemes up here, and you can change these to be something that you want differently. There are a number of different options there. I have gone with, I think I've gone with Midnight. Yeah, Midnight has been the one that I've been using in Dev. So you can just go in here, you click on the new color scheme, and you click Update Profile, and now I just have a different color scheme to it. So that's just kind of something I wanted to show just real quick, just in case you really did want to change it from that now vibrant blue to something else, if you'd like. So that's number 1. Number two is one of the questions that we've been getting in our office hours over the past few months has to do with the Yoast Duplicate Post plugin that we use. So for those of you who are not familiar with it, we have a plugin called Yoast Duplicate Post. And what it does is it allows you to either clone, duplicate as a draft, or rewrite particular pages in place and then do kind of like a publish swap of those two pages. I'm not going to train you how to do all that stuff. If you want to learn how to do that stuff, feel free to set up some office hours with me. But one of the things that happens in the migration process is those settings need to be reset for your UW Theme 2.0 site because some of the post types that we're using are new in 2.0, even though they're a similar thing from UW Theme Classic. And specifically, I'm talking about like events and UW People. Those are the two plugins that we created brand new for UW Theme 2.0. So once you have your Yoast Duplicate Post activated, you can go to settings and under page post elements to copy, just want to make sure. Oh, no, it's permissions. Under permissions, there's this option for enable for these post types. And you put a check in for the ones that you want to make available to have the various commands for cloning, duplicating, etc. So if I click Save Changes here, and I go back to my UW People, for example, if I mouse over, you'll notice I have clone, new draft, and rewrite and republish. And that's those options just need to be set from the permissions area for the settings for this particular plugin there. So we've had a few questions about that because these are new the UW People and UW Events are new rebuilt plugins in 2.0. So you just need to make sure that you go in and reset those. Okay. 8 minutes to go through the last demo. Okay, so one of the things that I wanted to talk about, and this is going to be like a kind of like a 3-month thing that Ketter and I are going to be embarking on, where we're going to start talking about patterns a little bit more and working with patterns. So one of the things that I wanted to demo for folks is the general use of patterns, how to deconstruct those patterns, and how to create your own pattern based off of something that you have created yourself on your page. So I'm going to go to my pages. I'm going to go to my home page. I have purposefully emptied out my home page right now, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the patterns. I'm going to go to starter content, and I'm just going to grab this one right here, this first starter content right here. And so now what's happened is I have dropped that pattern on, and you can see I've got all these various layout options on the page itself. And like here's, it duplicated my title, so I can go in and I can remove this particular title because the block is right there already. I'll wide width that. There we go. Okay. So let's say, for example, now that I have added this pattern to the page, but I really don't want a jump link section right here. I actually want to use this little section here for like my news area. So what I can do is I can open up that section. Again, Ketter already talked about the renaming of sections and group blocks over here on the left, so I won't belabor that. This is also in my video about creating sections of content. But I'm going to go in and I'm going to take a look at how this is set up. So it is a group block. It is a 2-column layout, and I can see that here is the left column, here is the right column. So in this right column, the one that I want to affect, I want to get rid of this group of links. That's not what I want in there. So I'm going to go over here and I'm just going to delete it. And now what I can do is I can go back to the patterns and I can grab post listings. I can look at the post listings patterns and I can scroll on down and I can choose either the post listings, just the plain post listing one, or I can grab the post listings with images. So let's see how the one with images looks. So I'm just going to drag that over. And now I have that in here. And so now what I can do is I can go back to my list view. And this is what I've added right here. I've added this block right here. But now what I can do is in my settings for it's the query loop. Or yeah. And boy, see how much you have to deconstruct this? Where are you at? Where are you at, query loop? There you are. Up at the very top here with this one right here. I can change this down to be, I only want 3 posts to appear. And even then, this is a lot of content in there that I don't want. So I was digging down further and I can see, oh, the excerpt is a part of the query loop. So I'm just going to delete out the excerpt. And now I just have a quick 3-post news area, recent news. I changed the headline there. And so now I just have a quick 3-post news area here on the right side with a little bit of introductory stuff right here. And I've now created essentially a new pattern off of that. So what I could do is I can click on this pattern that exists. I can click on obviously the options here. I can detach it because what I'm doing is I'm detaching that from the pattern that I pulled in because I want to create it as my own pattern. And so now what I can do is now that I've detached it, I can create a pattern based off of this new one that I just created myself. I'm just going to call it, intro section with news list. I could add categories if I wanted to right there. And I am not going to set it to be synced. We're going to talk about synced next week, or not next week, sorry, next month. We're going to talk about creating synced patterns because Ketter and I want to dig into that a little bit as well to show you how to create synced patterns and best use cases for that. So now I have this particular pattern created. I'll click add. And there it is. I've now created this intro section with news list pattern. So I'll save. I will go back to my pages and then maybe on my Accordion testing page, I can now go here. I can go to patterns. I can go to my patterns. And here is that pattern that I just created, intro section with news list. And I will just drop that there. And that pattern comes in with all the stuff that I set up. And now I can edit it on this page however I want. So that was a 5-minute whip through of how to use a pattern, how to deconstruct a pattern, and then how to create your own pattern off of that. So pretty fast to go through that. More than happy to go through it with anybody during office hours if they'd like. But this is something that I have been doing quite a bit in office hours when people ask, like, they're trying to create something that they want to have some consistency throughout their site. I work through creating patterns to help them sort of get to that point of what they want in a style that works with the UW theme. Any questions? Okay. Oh, after when you edit within that pattern. Molly, no, that is so the way that I just created this specific pattern, it is a one-time use type pattern. So when I edit it here, it doesn't affect the one that I used on the homepage. What you're thinking about is synced patterns, which is what we will demo next. Okay. Any other questions for this month?
I'm not seeing anything.
I'm not either. Oh, there's
Oh,
a question.
wait.
Is it possible to hide decorative images on mobile? I think I'm going to have to yield the floor to Ketter and or Andrea on that question. It's not possible at the moment within the theme. I don't know if that's something that we would want a feature request for, if that's something that we would want, but I guess I don't really, I'd yield to Ketter or Andrea on that thought.
Yeah, we don't currently have that availability to be able to hide something on mobile, but there is a feature request out there for this that I'm gonna find to see if you can go ahead and upvote that.
I just found it. I'll drop it.
Oh, thank you so much. But it is something that we're looking into. One of the concerns that we have there is hiding important content that maybe is a need to know, and folks who are new to the theme or new to doing that type of thing struggling with that a bit. So there's just some more strategy that we have to think about, especially on the accessibility end, for if we do incorporate that down the line. That's a good question. Yeah, and
Yeah,
if
and
you,
then,
oh, go ahead.
sorry, go ahead. Go ahead,
Oh,
Ketter. No.
I was just going to say, if you do upvote that, it's helpful to comment where that would be useful for you in the comments of that feature request that Andrea shared. It's always helpful for us to know, like, how does the need or the want help you in your own work and why. It just gives our team more to work with as we have conversations about it. Thanks, Laura.
Mhm. Then Laura Vanderplik asked when 7.0 is coming. We have it tentatively scheduled to launch on June 22nd. That is our intention, and right now we don't have any thoughts that that'll change, but that's our hope. All right, we have hit the 1 o'clock hour. We're gonna end it there. Let me stop the recording. Thank you, everybody.